When I was 13 years old, I went to my aunt's house to get my head braided. To keep me entertained, she turned on the TV and put on Disney Channel. That's when I heard and saw the intro. I was sitting in my chair and started watching a cartoon I had never seen before, Miraculous. I found it intriguing. Negative emotions that can transform people into villains, a regular girl who transforms to free them from evil, and then a cat, a black cat. I suddenly jumped up off my chair and shouted, "This cartoon copied one of my favorite manga, Shigoshawa!" Coucou les gars, I hope you're doing good. I'm doing great. Please don't hate me because of my intro. It's just a little story from when I was a kid, but I'll tell you the real deal at the end. But for now, let's go back to my childhood. Miraculous came out in 2015 in France, but I only really started hearing about it in 2016, and that's when it exploded. Everyone at school was talking about it, and I was frustrated. Angry even. Why? Because I felt like this show had copied a story I loved so much, and back then, watching anime wasn't cool. People made fun of me for it. I swore I would never watch what I thought was just a trashy knockoff of the anime I had watched and loved a year earlier. And now it's 2025, I just came out of a tough depression, and I just needed to let off some of the anger I've been holding in. Miraculous is still being watched by so many people around the world, while Shigoshawa never got the same level of recognition. That's when I said to myself, I have to speak the truth. So since May, I started watching Miraculous, even though I swore I never would. But this time, I watched it with a different purpose. To take notes on every single similarity between Miraculous and Shigoshawa. And I'm not holding back. Just a quick disclaimer, not every similarity shown in this video can be brushed off as just part of the shoujo or magical girl genre, because that's simply not true. Now that we've cleared that up, let me show you 15 obvious similarities that made 30 years old me generally think that Miraculous copied Shigoshawa. The whole plot of Miraculous is based on a villain who turns people's emotion into troublemakers called akumatized victims. In Shigoshawa, the idea is very similar, and honestly, I think it goes even deeper. In Miraculous, just having a negative emotion can make you snap and become a villain. But in Shigoshawa, it's not just about anger or sadness, it's about deeper feelings. When your emotions become so negative that you start doubting yourself. When you begin to believe that you're worthless or that you never become who you truly want to be. That's when things change. That's when your heart turns dark and you become vulnerable to the villain's influence.
僕なんてダメダメなんです。ひなむり先輩だって情けないと思ってる。
So yes, the concept in Miraculous is more simplified, but in the end, both stories are based on the same idea. Negative emotions darken people's hearts, and that's what creates the troublemakers. Also, in Miraculous, the main villain called Hawkmoth is trying to steal Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculouses. Why? Because when those two Miraculouses are combined, they give the power to make any wish come true. Now, of course, you can probably guess, the idea is the same in Shigoshawa. In Miraculous, Hawkmoth akumatizes people to force Ladybug and Cat Noir to appear, hoping to steal their Miraculouses during the fight. He uses people like pawns. In Shigoshawa, the villain turns people's eggs into X eggs because he's searching for the embryo, a special egg that can also grant any wish. So he corrupts as many eggs as possible, hoping that one day he'll find the right one, the embryo, and use it to make his dream come true.
エンブリオはバツ玉が大量発生したところに現れる性質があると思われます。
Even though the methods are different, in Miraculous, Hawkmoth wants the Miraculouses and uses people as tools. In Shigoshawa, the villain wants the embryo and corrupts eggs instead. The end goal is exactly the same. They both turn people into villains as a way to obtain a powerful object that will help them fulfill their deepest wish. And that's where Marinette Dubenching comes in. She's the girl who transforms whenever someone is akumatized. Her role is to purify the akuma, and once the job is done, she uses her power to fix everything that was destroyed.
Miraculous Ladybug!
And in Shigoshara, we have Amu Inamori, who with the help of her Shigosharas can also transform. Her mission? To capture the X eggs and purify them. And when too much damage has been done, she can use the Clover Amulet to restore what was broken.
壊れたものは元通り。みんな優しくお直ししましょう。リメイク
But unlike Miraculous, in Shigoshara, the healing doesn't happen instantly. Amu only uses the power when it's really necessary. So yeah, in both series, a teenage girl transforms and takes on the job of purifying corrupted energy. In Miraculous, it's the Akuma, and in Shigoshara, it's the XX. Now, let's talk about the famous love square, because it's also a big part of the story. Marinette Dupancheng is in love with Adrien. But Adrien only seems to love Marinette when she's transformed into ladybug. Meanwhile, Marinette doesn't have feelings for Adrien when he's transformed into cat noir. In Shigoshara, Amu is in love with Tadase, but Tadase only really likes Amu when she's transformed.
でも、今はすごく気になってる女の子がいる。アミュレットハートみたいな子。はい。
And Amu? She's not very charmed by Tadase when he's transformed either. As you can see, there is a black cat in both stories. In Miraculous, Adrien is the black cat, and I was just saying that Tadase is basically the Adrien of the Shigoshara universe. But in Shigoshara, Tadase and the black cat are two different people. But don't worry, I'll explain it more clearly when I talk about the characters. But basically, in both series, the main girl is in love with the popular sweet blonde guy. That blonde guy only likes her when she's transformed, and she doesn't really like him when he's transformed. Finally, Ladybug has a whole team of superhero friends who help her capture Akumas. Each of them has a specific role and power. And in Shigoshara, it's the exact same thing. Amu is a part of a group called the Guardians, made up of other kids who also have Shigosharas. They fight together to stop the bad guys. But here's the difference. In Miraculous, Marinette and Adrien had the first to get their Miraculouses. All the other heroes come later. In Shigoshara, it's the opposite. Amu is the last one to join. Her friends already had their Shigosharas before her. Of course, there are a lot more, but I don't want this video to be too long. Let's start with the most obvious one, the black cat in both universes. Just saying cat noir in that kind of context triggered something in me. The black cat in Shigoshara universe is called Ikuto, and he's clearly the Luca of Miraculous but in the Shigoshara world, with a darker vibe, less sweet and definitely more seductive.
耳かしな。
耳って。
いいから、ほら。
So yes, in both Miraculous and Shigoshara, we have a black cat character who is in love with the main heroine and who is charming and flirty. But it goes deeper than that. In both shows, the black cat's father is the main villain, the one who's trying to get a magical object to make a wish come true. In Miraculous, Hawkmoth is Adrien's real father. In Shigoshara, the main villain is Ikuto's stepfather. Now, let's talk about symbolism. In Miraculous, cat noir represents destruction, and ladybug represents creation and repair. They are like yin and yang, opposites who complete each other. In Shigoshara, Ikuto owns the empty key, and Amu owns the empty lock. The show doesn't explain it directly, but it's clearly symbolic. They are also meant to complete each other. But here's a big difference. In Miraculous, cat noir is a hero, fighting alongside ladybug. In Shigoshara, Ikuto is an antagonist, working for the villain. He even destroys people's dreams by breaking their eggs, leaving them with an empty heart. So yes, their backgrounds are different, but let's be honest. The fact that both shows have a black cat who is deeply connected to the main girl and whose father is the villain is just too similar to ignore. The Miraculous author could have chosen any animal, literally anything. But no, they choose a black cat. And of course, both stories just happen to have a villain who grants wishes, people turning evil from negative emotions, and now a black cat with a mysterious bond to the main girl. That's way too many similarities for me to believe it's just a coincidence. Also, let's talk about Luca, who, like I said earlier, is basically the softer version of Ikuto from Shigoshawa. Both have dark hair with blue highlights, both are in love with the main heroine, both wear jewelry with a bit of a gothic style, and both love string instruments. Ikuto plays the violin and Luca plays the guitar.
楽しい歌声とも、激しいギターとも違う。
Also, both characters don't know their biological father, or know him but have a vague memories of him. For Luca, it's solved in just one episode. His father turns out to be the famous musician Dragonstone, but for Ikuto, it's a lot deeper. He leaves Japan completely to teach for his father, and we don't see him for a long time because of that. But like I explained earlier, Ikuto is the carte noire of the Shigoshawa universe, while Luca is not the carte noire in Miraculous. Okay, so this is where I really want you to pay attention because it's really important to understand. Nobody knows it, but carte noire in Miraculous is actually Adrien, a nice handsome blonde boy. He's very popular and all the girls love him, including the main heroine. He's literally the same type of character as Tadase in Shigoshawa, who is also blonde, nice, handsome and popular. And just like Adrien, all the girls love Tadase, including the main heroine. But the big difference is that Tadase is not the carte noire in Shigoshawa. So if you assume that the creator of Miraculous knows Shigoshawa and was inspired by it, then maybe he saw Tadase and thought he's the perfect boy character. So he created Adrien with the same personality and appearance. But then he also saw her fans actually prefer Ikuto over Tadase. Even though Tadase is supposed to be the main love interest, Ikuto became more popular. So maybe the creator of Miraculous thought that if he wanted Adrien to be loved by young girls, he had to give him something more, like turn him into carte noire. This way, Adrien becomes both the perfect boy like Tadase and the mysterious bad boy like Ikuto.
This guy plus this guy equals Adrien, okay? It equals Adrien! I mean, like, this suit is nice and everything, but what about his suit? What about his suit, bruh? Look.
But just giving Adrien both roles wasn't enough. He also needed a love triangle, just like in Shigoshawa. So he still created a character like Ikuto, and that's Luca. But Luca is softer, kinder, and not carte noire. That way, he doesn't compete with Adrien too much. This makes the audience more likely to support the Adrien-Marinette couple instead of Luca-Marinette. I know, this might sound like a stretch, but it's the way I personally analyze it. Cause let's be real, the reason Adrien is so popular with Miraculous fans is mostly because he's carte noire. People actually like carte noire more than Adrien. Without the suits, Adrien is just too nice, and his only personality is being rich, good-looking, and famous. Anyway, even if you don't agree with me, in both universes, the main love interest of the heroine is a calm blonde boy, who only loves the heroine when she's transformed. Let's now talk about the magical creatures, the Kwamis and the Shigoshawas. In Miraculous, Kwamis are small magical creatures connected to the Miraculouses. They usually look like floaty animals. Kwamis help their order transform into a superhero, and they act like spiritual guides. They often reflect a hidden side of the persons they are born to, and their relationship is based on trust, secret, and responsibility. Now, in Shigoshawa, we have the Shigoshawas, small humanoid beings born from a child's heart's egg. They represent the child's dreams, hopes, or ideal version of themselves. Each Shigoshawa stands for a personality trait the child wants to grow. Courage, creativity, confidence, and so on. And the Shigoshawas also give their order the ability to transform themselves.
一体何やったの？君は何？私はな、アムちゃんの守護キャラ。
To finish, in both universes, there is the stereotype of the blonde, beautiful, arrogant rival, who has a special affection for a boy that is either her childhood friend or like a brother. Chloe Bourgeois in Miraculous shares a lot of similarities with Otto Ushina from Shigoshawa, to the point where we can wonder if she's just a simplified copy of her. Both characters clearly follow the same narrative archetype. The blonde, elegant, arrogant, and popular rival who is often jealous of the main heroine. Even visually, they are similar. long hair, classy clothes, and a better-than-you attitude that hides deeper emotional pain. From the very beginning, Chloe and Otto are shown as opponents to the mean girl. This rivalry is not just personal, it's also romantic. Chloe is obsessed with Adrien, and she pushes everyone away from him. They've known each other since childhood, and she even sees him as a part of her family. In the same way, Uto has a complicated love for Ikuto, her half-brother. She tries to both control and get close to him. In both cases, this adds romantic drama to their role as a female antagonist. But the way Uto's feelings come from real inner pain and conflict, Chloe mostly reacts with childish jealousy and never really questions herself. So Chloe Bourgeois feels like a simplified, exaggerated version of Uto Ushina. The similarities are just too many to ignore. But while Uto is a complex, evolving character who grows and finds freedom and maturity, Chloe stays locked in her role as the classic mean girl, without enough emotional depth to make us really understand or care about her. Now, let's move on to smaller details that can also be seen in both shows. Let's start with a little Shigosha reference I noticed in Luca's character. As I already said, Luca and Ikuto both share a deep love for string instruments. For Luca it's the guitar and for Ikuto it's the violin. But in one episode we actually see Luca playing the violin just like Ikuto. It's just a small detail. I think it only happened in one episode, but I can't help feeling like it was a nod to Ikuto. Also, both of them were part of a music group and ended up leaving it. Next, in Miraculous, the villain Hawkmoth uses purple butterflies to hurt people and akumatize them. In Shigoshawa, it's not the mean villain who uses butterflies, but Uto. She uses butterflies to affect people negatively too. Another similarity is that in both shows, the characters can swap their kwamis or Shigoshawas, which gives them a new transformation. The difference is that in Shigoshawa, doing this uses up a lot of energy. Also in Miraculous, Marinette has one kwami, while in Shigoshawa, Amu has 3 Shigoshawas. Just to remind you, the Shigoshawas are physical forms of a person's personality or dreams. One represents Amu's sporty side, her color is pink. Miki represents her artistic side, her color is blue. Shu represents her love for cooking and baking, her color is green. And guess what? These 3 personalities match perfectly with Marinette's characters in Miraculous. Marinette is sporty, well, she's ladybug, so she does a lot of acrobatics, but even without transforming, she likes football. Marinette is artistic. She makes a lot of designs, like the heart with the pigeon feeder, she designs Jack and Stone's album cover, and she even makes clothes. And she loves baking. Her parents run a bakery and we've seen her make macarons, especially for her kwami. And she even bakes bread with her grandfather. And finally, the villain managed to steal Marinette's Miraculous. Thanks to Carte Noire, she was able to save one, but she ended up losing all the others. The Miraculous were trapped in a jar to extract their energy and power. It's the same situation in Shigoshawa. The villain succeeded in stealing Amu's eggs, but thanks to the Carte Noire of that universe, she managed to save 2 of them. However, one was captured and kept inside a jar to drain its energy and power. If you still say you don't see any connection after this, I honestly won't believe you. But can we say that Miraculous is a cheap copy of Shigoshawa? No, absolutely not. Unfortunately, I can't say that. I cannot say that. Like, I was, that's very frustrating because I started watching Miraculous just to prove my point, but after watching the whole thing, no, it's absolutely, not the same thing. But there are a lot of similarities, not only tropes, but very similarities between these 2 shows. But it really annoys me that no one wants to admit there is clearly a connection between these 2 works. I've searched everywhere and all people say is that the creator was inspired by Spider-Man or Sailor Moon. And I can see how some inspiration comes from those shows, but trust me, the number of similarities with Shigoshawa is way more obvious than with Spider-Man or Sailor Moon. I think it's just important to give credit where credit is due. We can absolutely respect Miraculous as his own show, while also admitting honestly that there was aspiration from Shigoshara. We are not crazy. When people told you that Miraculous copied Shigoshara's, it's really because they are very similar, but it's different in the same way. That's so weird, but I think Miraculous is a mature version of Shigoshara. Because Shigoshara is very childish. Because I will watch Shigoshara for this video. It was, I mean, the first 10 episodes that I watched was very great. I felt a lot of nostalgia, but it started to be very hard for me to keep going, to keep watching, because it was very, I don't know how to say that, but very childish. Like, Miraculous, it was boring as well. Like, I was like, oh my god, it's actually the same. Like, but when the season 4 started, I was, whoa, that was so great. Like, Miraculous is so great, and I would never say that Miraculous is a plagiar of Shigoshara, because it's not true. And I think, like, because now I'm 22, I even prefer Miraculous than Shigoshara. That's crazy. Yeah, you can just say that there are not similarities between the two shows because it's just tropes. There are some of my points that I say in this video that they are just general, but there are very specific similarities between these two shows. You can see that in Sailor Moon or other magical girl shows, you know. That's all for me. So I hope you like it, and I hope I made my point. And sorry for the mistakes that I made for the video, because I'm not used to speak in English. I understand mostly everything when someone speaks because I watch a lot of series, movies, and YouTubers too. But it's really hard to speak because I don't speak often in English. I can communicate, but I make so many mistakes in my accent. Oh my god! Because yes, I speak French. Like, my mother tongue is French. But yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.